Hello, beautiful, and welcome to another episode of Euphoric, the podcast. I'm your host, Karolina Rzadkowska. I'm the author of the book Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You. And it is my passion and my mission in life to help intuitive women not only ditch alcohol, but then discover their deeper purpose. And I really wanted to talk to you about the latter part of that mission, about helping women discover their deeper purpose. Because I felt that ultimately, while I drank because it was what everyone else was doing, the way you socialize, the way you relax, the way you unwound from stress, ultimately, if I really am being honest with myself and looking back at why I was just so allured to having alcohol at the end of the week was because I wasn't finding what I was doing fulfilling in my career. I couldn't wait for the weekend to come to do something more fun and not have to wake up and commute and work my 9 to 5 and feel bored or stressed out throughout the week and deal with demands on different projects. Like, it just ultimately came down to not really feeling like I was living my purpose in this planet. And it was so much easier to numb myself to the fact. Right? I knew I wanted to be an author, for example, but I didn't actually write. So it was so much easier to pour a glass of wine than even try to be the author that I wanted to be. And I really want to talk to you today about this huge revelation I've had in the last 5 years about finding that fulfillment in your life. And I think obviously it can look really different for different types of people, but I want to speak specifically to the women who are listening to the show right now who are feeling called to help other people. And if you're being called to help other people, it's a miracle because you have gone through a challenge in your own life for a reason, right? And you've overcome it and you've learned so much because of it. And it is now time to give that gift back to someone else. And if you're feeling that, and if you're feeling like you just want to spread the joy, spread the gift, share the message, share the lessons, share the tools and the frameworks you learned, I really believe it's your destiny to do that. And I'm going to talk about what I've really just discovered as the best career, literally the best career. Now, I'm not meaning to dismiss any other careers out there, but, finding coaching has been so life-changing for me. And I just wanted to give you some reasons why I love coaching so much. And if you're looking for a new way to make more purpose in your life, have more freedom in your life, have more impact in your life, have more abundance in your life, maybe coaching is something that you would want to consider as well. And before I get started, I'm using the word coach, but I don't just mean someone who works one-on-one with people and practices in that format. Being a coach can mean so much more than that. It can mean being an online educator. It can mean being a facilitator. It can mean being an influencer. It can mean being a thought leader. It can mean being an author. Like, it's all the ways that you see, people like Deepak Chopra or Brene Brown, even though Brene Brown probably isn't coaching anyone one-on-one, in essence, she's an online educator and thought leader and has probably had sessions with people over time to learn more and more about what she researches. So, use the word coach pretty broadly, but I just wanted to share why I think it's the best career and why I love it so much. And just like going alcohol free, when you discuss lifestyle and you're sleeping better and you have more energy and more confidence and you're really healing your past limiting beliefs and you're becoming stronger and rediscovering yourself, and it's like a gift you want to give to other people, like you just wish everyone could experience what you're experiencing. I really feel the same way about being a coach. I really feel like it's a gift I want to give to other people. So let me just whet your appetite for an episode about what it means to me to be a coach and why I think it's the best career. So I'm going to start with the super personal stuff in the sense of like what it means for your life personally. And in some ways, sometimes we don't know what we want. Sometimes we don't know what we actually really want, but we do know what we don't want. You know what I mean? So if you're so sick of your 2-hour commute, or you're so sick of your boss, or you're so sick of whatever it is, like sometimes we can use those as clues as what we don't want in our life to then help us decide what we do want in our lives. And these things aren't selfish. Like having a work environment or having more freedom or more location independence, like none of those things are selfish. We have one life here, and there's so many possibilities today to really have the kind of career that you want. You deserve to have that. You deserve to really, try to go for it. Like one day you don't want to look back and regret what you could have done differently to have the life you really want. So I'm going to start really personal in the sense of like, these things aren't these huge, world-changing kind of concepts, but we're going to get to those as well about how it really makes impact and difference in the world as well. But, starting out, it's okay to be a little selfish in this sense. Like if you personally, for example, let's say you're a working mom and using childcare, you only have a few hours after work every day to hang out with your children. You just want to be there. Just to be there during pickup time and to take them to soccer practice and to have more just time with them. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And you deserve that if that's what you're looking for. If you just don't like the idea of being chained to a desk from 9 to 5, if you don't like commuting, if you don't like having meetings that like you really have no say about, for example, like, oh my gosh. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to like just outright say I like hated my past career, because it's not necessarily true. Like I did have a lot of growth and a lot of really cool like connections and networking in my past career, but it just wasn't it for me. It wasn't like, the real purpose fulfilling mission for my life. And it really helped me get to where I am. So I don't want to just totally vilify it. And so like, you don't have to hate your current job right now in order to want to have it even better, right? So we sometimes get stuck in this fallacy that like, oh, it's good enough, I shouldn't ask for more. You know what I mean? But for example, if time is an element that you just wish you had in the sense of having more autonomy over your time, being a coach is such a wonderful thing, because like, it's your own baby. It's your own business. You decide when you work. You decide what days you want to see clients or what days you want to produce content. Like everything gets to be up to you. No one's forcing you to get in a car and go to an office from a 9 to 5, right? And I don't mean to say also that it doesn't take time to launch a business. There are people who have worked really hard to leverage their businesses and got help and delegated, so they are working a lot less. For example, I get help now, right? So when I was in my first year in business, I did everything by myself, and now I'm in my 5th year in business and I don't do everything by myself. Like I really get the best people on the planet to help me with this mission and this vision. And so in some ways, yes, I can work less, but I still like to work hard in the sense because I love this, so it's a balance between that. But the idea of having autonomy over your time, the idea of saying, you know what, I want to have 2 to 4 p.m. free so I can go pick up my son from school. Like that's a line in the sand that you're allowed to have when you are working for yourself, and you can really design your life. Like just imagine what would it be like to truly design your schedule, to be able to say, I wake up at this time, I do this, I'm allowed to actually sit down and have a real breakfast. I go work out and then I sit and do some work or see some clients or work on my marketing plan or whatever. It's on your own time. And I think that freedom and that autonomy is so, so important. My parents came from such a different generation. They grew up in the worst aftermath of World War II. Poland was overtaken by basically a communist force, and it was rebuilding its nation. And at the same time, it was just very dark and solemn. And so many people, back then had, we would call them like kind of blue collar jobs, right? And so my parents were really groomed in an era, and I'm sure this is really common across a lot of different heritages and ethnicities. They were groomed in an era that basically said that having a university degree and an advanced type of profession is the way to go, right? So my mom was an architect, for example. My dad was a land surveyor, civil engineer, input anything you need to, doctor, lawyer, accountant, business professional, anything like that. Anything that like gave you a safe, stable roadmap where you weren't schlepping in a factory all day. To my parents, that was like the golden ticket. And so when they came to the United States, and after a lot of hard work and being unemployed for a long time, they found jobs and they got to technically live the American dream, right? But as a child, all I saw were parents that weren't home, right? As a child, my dad would wake up at 5 a.m. or even 4 a.m. I don't know if I remember. He was on a 6 a.m. train every day to get to LA from Orange County. So yeah, he was probably waking up at like 4:30 or 5, at the latest. Like he did that for years, like decades, and that was the American dream to him. And my mom, wasn't home. Like, my grandma was around in certain parts of the year, so I really feel like in a way my grandma raised me. But like, and the way that we lived in South Orange County, like there weren't jobs in South Orange County. So like everybody in that generation, of this kind of people working in corporations, that kind of stuff, they commuted for at least an hour to get to a job. And again, this was the American dream. This was like, oh my God, we are so lucky, especially compared to like where my parents came from, what their parents just went through, during World War II. I mean, it really was the American dream. But again, I'm saying as a kid, I see them sacrificing their sleep, their free time, not very much time with us kids. Like, there's nothing that inviolable to me. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I cannot wait to commute and go to my 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. It kind of almost seemed like a prison sentence. And I say that with as much, grace and privilege as possible. Obviously, having a job is an incredible thing, but you know what I'm trying to say here, right? I think having the time and autonomy over your own schedule is such a powerful thing. So much freedom that comes with it. And, I even remember by the time I was leaving my career in higher ed, I had gotten to a point where I had a pretty good gig going. I had a really good relationship with my boss at that point. Like, I had freedom. Like, if I needed to go walk the dog, I could walk my dog. I could kind of go set my own appointments and stuff like that. But I still felt like this expectation. Like, if I'm not sitting in my office from 9 to 5, if I want to leave at 3, I like felt really guilty about it, even though I could literally open up my laptop and continue working at home. You know what I mean? And I know things changed with COVID where we don't necessarily all have to be in offices anymore, but it's still like the meetings aren't our own. You know what I'm saying? It's so freeing where I can now plan a trip to Costa Rica and just decide I'm going to take the week off. I'm just going to take the whole week off. I don't want to take any appointments this week, and I can just block my calendar. And nobody's going to tell me differently. You know what I mean? Like, I can design my business that way. So time freedom, I think, is just so incredible, whether you want to spend more time with your children, whether you want to travel more, whether you want to just like be healthier, like eat a real breakfast, like go on a walk, go exercise, go to yoga class in the middle of the day. All of these things are possible. The next thing is really similar in the sense of freedom of like location freedom. So I also, when I had my 9 to 5, I was so jealous of those people who lived abroad, traveled full time, or just got to travel like periodically throughout the year. Now, I did travel a bit when I was working because travel has just been such a big value of mine for so long, but it was so hard to fit in. First I had only like 1 or 2 weeks off a year. It was like one little trip we could go on, and God forbid I take a few too many Fridays off to do 3-day trips. Like I would try to always over plan like every 3-day weekend I had, like, ooh, maybe we can dart off to Denver for this 3-day weekend, and maybe we can go to like Mexico for this 3-day weekend. Like I was always taking the, 1 day off you could and smashing as much travel as I could in there. Because I didn't have the time off, or my husband didn't have the time off. You know what I'm saying? And even though I got a little bit more time off, like later on in my career, it was still always like, no, I can't just go here in May because we're doing this big project in May. You know what I mean? Like I had no freedom over it. And I love the idea that I can take my business on the road. I can work from anywhere that has Wi-Fi. I have worked in Europe. I worked for Europe for 3 months last summer. I have been to Asia. I have been to Mexico, to Costa Rica. Like, I love that I can take my business anywhere and show you guys how to do that too, like show you how possible it is to have that kind of location freedom. Like, I haven't even done it yet, but like there's such a romantic allure to me to like literally just get in a car and do a road trip across the US and have the same work schedule. Like if I wanted to, you know what I mean? And continue to, have my work schedule, but still just be in a different place and be in this Airbnb and see this cool site the next day. Like, it's all possible. So I think both with either time or location, whichever one is alluring to you, just the idea of freedom alone, I think is so alluring. And if you have freedom in one of your value systems, it's so worth designing a career that really honors that. The next thing I'll say that I think is so incredible about being a coach is that you get to tap into your creativity all the time. All the time. When I was looking at my job and why it was causing me to drink, I don't know that I would use the word stress. I definitely had a lot of moments of stress, but I think ultimately I was actually on the other spectrum of feeling more bored, right? Feeling like I wasn't really expressing my creativity, doing my ideas. And maybe you've had a situation where you like have ideas, but like management or your supervisor or whoever's next in line just doesn't buy into them. And so having like autonomy over your creativity and really being able to do what projects you want to do, write the things you want to write, share the message the way you want to share it. Like creativity is one of my top values as well. So creativity and freedom are up there, and literally expressing myself, expressing my ideas, expressing the things that have helped me in life, helping someone else through my ideas, through, the different things that I've read. Like, it is such a fulfilling feeling to know that you're tapping into your creativity. And I really do believe that everybody is meant to be creative. I don't think it's like we have this really limited mindset that like creativity is only about fine arts. And if you're not an artist or a painter, you are therefore not creative. I do not believe that. I think creativity is something that you are building something or creating something that did not exist before. And there's so many different manners to do that. And so this year, for example, I usually do one big, huge creative project a year. Now, I do a lot of creativity, like every time you write a blog, every time you get on a podcast like this is me being creative today on this podcast to share this message. But what I'm speaking about is one big creative project a year is like a much bigger project, right? Like not just one podcast episode. And I look back, and I never planned it this way, but I just look back and I really had one big project a year. So it was either a big program I would put together. This year we're putting together the certification. So, just imagine, I've learned so much about coaching, so many different modalities, so much through experience and practice, so much about working with different people, learn from all these different masters. And now we're putting it all together for you. You know what I mean? And just imagine like how that uses my creativity, how I'm able to like pull from all these different things and put it together in a new way that makes sense to me, which hopefully then also makes sense to you. Like, it's such an incredible way to use my creativity. My book was a huge creative project. Other programs I've launched have been creative projects. Even retreats are creative projects because like you're designing something, you're designing curriculum, but then you're also designing the rest of the day, right? So I love that. And I know that, if you have any like interest in your heart about being an author or any kind of creator, like being a coach is going to literally give you that fulfillment in that area so strongly. The next thing I'll be a little short on, but it also gives you a challenge. So the psychologist, I'm going to butcher the name, but the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, okay, I said it so wrong. It's not anything like that. It's like a Hungarian name, so I don't even know how to pronounce it. But he is a famous psychologist who really developed the idea of flow. And flow is like when we get into an activity where time just passes by. Like, we love what we're doing. We're really engaged. And it's not just that we love what we're doing. He recognized we are challenged by what we're doing. And so, having a challenge in front of you, whether it's like, I remember when I was first starting, I just had no idea how to put a website together. That was a challenge, right? And then I learned it and I overcame it, and I knew, I'm not going to use the word mastered it yet because I'm sure I still have a lot to learn, but I got to a certain solid point with it, right? I got to a certain level of expertise with it. And even just after a month, I learned so much more than I had at the very beginning. And then you have your next challenge in front of you. Okay, how do you post on Instagram? How do you post on Facebook? How do you create content? How do you get on podcasts? How do you launch your own podcast? How do you create videos? How do you talk to, famous people? Like, every month comes with a new challenge. And I really learned that instead of feeling very confused and unsure of myself, yes, I still have those feelings. I also recognize that like leaning in and learning how to do this next thing, this new frontier that I don't know how to do, it's going to be incredibly rewarding. I'm going to feel so proud of myself for learning something. I think anytime you look at something new, your brain is scrambling, like it just doesn't know how to make sense of it, and it can feel really hard. But then you look at it again and again, and maybe you watch a video and you read something, and all of a sudden it starts to click. And that is such a good feeling. And plus the feeling of knowing you didn't give up and you continued figuring the thing out, like if you're a business owner, for example, like figuring out the Facebook ads, figuring out the tech issue you had, figuring out how to put the podcast up on the internet, like all these things can feel like such huge wins because you persevered and you went go through with that. And like, I will tell you that like, it never ends as an entrepreneur. You're always going through these incredible challenges that then turn into wins when you persevere and you learn and you master a new level that you didn't know before. The next thing is personal growth. So I love coaching so much because it allows me to grow so much. And you know that saying that like a vase cannot, if like you pour out the water in a vase, you have no water to like give to anyone else, right? And the best way to actually give to other people is to make sure that you are filled up completely, and then that overflow from you can go to other people. Well, it's so true as a coach. Like the most incredible coaches continue working on their personal development like it's their job every day. Like there's no, I'm done, I'm going to sit back on my haunches, this game is over for me. Even though I've changed my relationship with alcohol a long time ago, there's still so many undercurrents that I can continue developing my mindset around, whether it's fear or being visible or, having more boundaries. Like all of these things are such huge universal personal things that we all go through. And a coach, especially because you've become an entrepreneur and a business owner, oh my God, you're going to grow so much. You're going to grow so much. You're going to grow through the fear of worrying about what other people think. You're going to grow through how to motivate yourself when you don't feel like doing what you want to do. And every time you feel like you don't know what you want to do, or you're just not motivated and you're worried about what other people think, when you get on a call with someone or you're able to talk to someone and help someone, all of a sudden it rejuvenates you. Like you remember why you're doing this and you're like, holy hell, this isn't about me. I'm able to help other people. So it's like you're honestly always getting filled up, because like helping others is one of our top needs, and it's how we get fueled. So the personal growth you have, whether, it's really working on your money mindset, that's going to be huge, 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 huge as a business owner. And it's something I want to talk about more on this podcast, because I think we all grow up with such scarcity mindsets, and I've been working on mine for a long time, and I can see how far I've come, and I have still far to go, but it's just insane the way I used to think compared to the way I think today. The way that we might be scared of being visible or being judged by other people. And even too, what's so cool about the personal growth you go through as a coach is a client comes to you and they say they have a specific problem or challenge. Maybe you never thought about that specific challenge or problem before, but all of a sudden you kind of have to think on your feet, go back to maybe some things you've learned in the past, or, you magically do come up with something. And all of a sudden now, like, you have this formal solution that you can then give other people. So it's always like kind of constantly having you think on your feet and continue to build like your library of resources of how you can help others, Like the very first time someone says, help, I don't know how to sleep. I'm not sleeping very well now that I'm taking a break from alcohol. It might cause you to read a book about sleeping hygiene and do a deep dive into learning more about that. And then like think of how many more people you could help with that same thing, So it's just really cool like that. The next thing I'll talk about is abundance. So I do believe that having your own business in the personal development space and being a coach literally can give you unlimited amount of abundance. I really, truly do believe that. I do believe the world needs more mentors and more personal development guides and coaches, and alcohol-free life coaches especially. I believe that there's such a need for it, and that when we are stuck in a negative mindset, like everything is wrong. We have more stress, we have unhealthy bodies, we have just more negativity in the world. Like if we can change at the level of the mindset, and if you can help someone do that, we really are making the world a better place. And so there is a lot of opportunity, I believe, to have also the kind of income and revenue that you want as a coach. Now, let me say that often starting a business from scratch means that you're starting you're starting as a beginner, and it can take some time to learn the marketing that you need to learn and attract the clients you want to attract. So I'm not saying it's like a get rich thing overnight. Absolutely not. But let me tell you this. I definitely know people who've started coaching, and in that first year that they've been coaches, they've made 6 figures. I know people like that. Now, that wasn't true for me. My first year, I barely made even 10K. And the reason why, though, is I was really hiding. I was really scared to put myself out there, so I barely did. I was really, really hiding. And that's okay. Like, that's the pace that I had personally. But the next year after that, I decided to not hide, to put myself out there, to really start attracting clients into my world. And I kind of changed my business model a little bit. And I made 6 figures that second year. You know what I mean? So it's totally possible to do this full time. And yes, it's going to take some work and it's going to take a lot of mindset shifts and, just strategy about just learning the things you don't know how to do yet, but it's so worth it. And I know so many coaches who scale their business higher and higher and higher because there's no ceiling to it, like they're really, compared to a corporate career, you might really be stuck at a certain ceiling. And unless the corporation or your boss wants to give you a raise, like there's nowhere to really go. Well, as long as you have your own creativity and your own energy and your own just bright ideas, like there really is no limit to it, right? And even if you're in the one-to-one model, there's ways to leverage and work more in groups and do more programs around the world. Like there's just so many options in the online education space. I love it. It's fascinating to me. And I think truly abundance is one of those things. Like not only was I able to quit my job, then I was able to get my husband to quit his job, right? So I am the sole breadwinner now. He works for Euphoric. So we're doing this together, but like we are completely supported just on the Euphoric revenue, right? Now I have a team. So we have revenue to be able to hire a team. We travel, like we're able to literally visit new countries every single month. And I think on average, I'm somewhere new every single month. I'm not like a full-time traveler yet because I really do like having a home base. It's just really nice to have that routine for me, but I also get restless. So then I need to go travel again every month. Next month, I'm going to go to Japan, Australia, and Bali. Right? And I'm taking my business on the road, like where we have programs that are rolling out. We have clients to see. Like it's not like the business slows down just because I'm traveling. And I can always choose to like block it off and stuff. But this is the life I want. I want this kind of lifestyle that allows me to literally like work from anywhere in the world. And so like there's so much possibility here. Even people who say like, oh, well, writing doesn't make money, or like I got a 6-figure book deal from HarperCollins, like your dreams, like your biggest dreams are the guide for you on literally how to have the most abundance possible. You wouldn't be given your dreams if they're a dead end and you're not going to be able to make a livelihood around them. There's always a creative solution into how to make your dreams a full-time income. And maybe someone has an objection, is thinking, yeah, but if you really wanted to help people, you wouldn't charge money for it. Why would we then only fund professions that aren't helping other people then? Like if that was true, then we would have no healers in the world because they would be too broke to work. Like if I didn't charge anyone and I just help people for free, I'm not a trust fund baby, so I would still have to have a full-time job. So I'd still have to work a 9-to-5, and I would have like an hour left over a day to like coach someone. Maybe I would work with 3 clients a quarter, maybe 12 people a year at the most. Like Euphoric helps thousands of people a year because I'm doing this full time, right? And so there's a lot, there's a lot of just mindset blocks and belief systems that can be changed for you to take your dream and go for it and believe that it is meant for you. Now, am I the kind of person who thinks that like you can just get started right away, quit your job? There's people who do it like that for sure. I didn't. Like I held on to my full-time job and worked on this on the side, right? Like a true side hustle. I worked in the morning, I worked in the evening. I still took time off. I had weekends off and such, but I was working like for about 1.5 years on both my full-time job and my business. And then there was time to leave my full-time job. So there's no reason why you can't get started right now on your dream of helping other people while you do what you're doing at work. And even if you have limited time or energy, you will find it uncanny how working on your passion and your dream actually revitalizes you in a way that nothing else does. So the abundance is there, truly. I mean, look at some of the most abundant people you can think of. Like to me, they're all thought leaders in coaching. Now, obviously there's like inventors or like total CEO businessmen too, right? But like when I'm thinking of like Tony Robbins or Gabby Bernstein or something like that, like that's how they all got started, is through coaching. So just allow yourself to dream about what's possible versus getting stuck in what you think is not possible, because the brain is very limited, and there's examples all around us of possibilities. Find your role model. Find someone, someone who looks like you, someone who comes from a similar background of you. You can find someone who has made it and really use them as a role model. Okay, last but not least, my favorite part about being a coach is the impact you can make in someone's life. it is life-changing to know that you have made a life-changing impact in someone's life. It truly is. I have loved the idea of giving back for a long time, like ever since I learned about like maybe different social causes, maybe as a high schooler. I knew I wanted to have a career that made a difference. And so I actually got into higher ed because I didn't want to go like the corporate route. Like specifically, I didn't want to go into just a for-profit type of a business. And I cared about like women's rights, and I cared about equality, and I cared about Black Lives Mattered, and I cared about so many different environmental issues. And I just, whatever causes pull at your heartstrings, I'm sure you have a big heart too. I'm sure you have a big heart and you have things that you care about. And so I wanted to feel like my life made an impact and made a difference. And I don't know about you, but I never found a way to really feel like my life made a big impact in something like helping the environment. Like, yes, I could recycle, or I could donate, or you know what I mean? Maybe I could have a conversation with my uncle who doesn't get it. But I never really felt like I knew how to insert myself in a way that made a meaningful difference in the world. Now, I do know how to do that with coaching. And I do know that when we change people's lives, the world changes. I know that when someone is feeling stuck and down and doesn't believe in themselves, like the impact it makes personally, if you care about people, if you have empathy and a big heart, that is such an indescribable feeling when you can help them through that. Even when you take someone who's a high achiever, but you help unlock some block that they're having or some way that they're still holding themselves back, and they come back to you and they tell you like, you're changing my life, or oh my God, I had a huge breakthrough. That feeling is like, it's like you want to cry, but you're also like feel like you're connected to God at the same time. It's so powerful. I was just on a call with a client yesterday, and she was being so nice to tell me so sweet about how I've impacted her life. And I'm just like, is this real? Like, does this really get to be my career? I wanted to cry, and I also felt connected to the divine at the same time. And I was like, wow, the divine really pushed me into doing what I'm doing. So if you don't know my background, I don't know if I share it that often, but like, I knew when I changed my relationship with alcohol that I wanted to write a book, right? That's it. And somehow the universe like conspired for me to launch a business too and become a coach. And I never recognized that like it all happened for a reason that way, because at first I was so scared about putting myself out there, and being an author just felt so much like tidier. Like, I can just like be a little distant from people, and like I could still change lives, but like from a distance. And yet the universe conspired for me to launch a business. And I can see all the stepping stones that were laid out in front of me for me to get to where I am today. And I feel so grateful. I feel so eternally blessed. I feel like something out there was talking to me, and I decided for once to listen to it. And I have not regretted it for 1 second. I've been so rewarded with that. And when you like really want to feel like your life matters, and that you are making a difference in people's lives, and that you have an impact, and that you're helping other people in something that you used to struggle with, it is an indescribable feeling. And it is what gets you to wake up and do what you do over and over and over again. Trust me, I have bad days. I wake up and I don't feel like it. I just want to like completely dart off, and just take a vacation for a while. I sometimes don't want to show up. Sometimes I don't want to sit down and record a podcast episode. Sometimes I don't want to, like, I'm just bored or lazy. I'm just like over it. And then I remember that it's not about me. That this mission, this vision, this euphoric book, business, podcast, coaching arm, all of it, it's not about me. It's a life that I can touch. It's about the passive version of me who's so hungry to have a mentor and to have a role model to help them through the tough time that they're in themselves. And you are meant to be that person. Because guess what? I'm not going to relate to everybody. People are going to hate the way I look and the way I talk, and they're not going to be interested in what I have to say, or they're going to think like, oh, she's not a mom, so she doesn't get this, or she lives in this state, so she doesn't get this. Like, we need you. We need you. We need exactly your personality to be sharing a message of increase, of hope, of change, of transformation. People need to hear it from you. And when you take all of that together, when you take like the freedom that you get, the creativity that's expressed, the abundance that you can create, the mental challenge that you get all the time of just continuing to learn something new. I mean, midlife crises are usually started because the person's plateaued so much they haven't challenged themselves and doing anything new, and everything's so the same every single day that they're so sick of it. When you take all of that, the personal development that you make, the impact that you can make in your life, I really can't think of a better career. So, if you're interested, if you're feeling called to become a coach yourself, or if you're even already coach, but you really want to deepen your coaching skills and learn more and more about how you can become more visible and help more people and attract more clients your way and make more money, I definitely recommend you join the Empowered AF Coach Certification Program. We start on May 4th. May 4th is our kickoff call. And right now, at the time of this recording, until May 1st or so, I'm reviewing applications and going on interview calls to make sure that the program's a good fit. And if something sparked you in this episode, is something that you want, even if you have no idea how to get it. I had no idea. The how is not your job. You just have to know the what and the why. What? I want to be a coach. I want to help other people. I want more time freedom. Why? Because I want to live a really fulfilling life on this planet. I want to know that my life made a difference. I want to have the freedom to be with my kids. You deserve to listen to that hunch, that nudge of your intuition, that universal calling for you, and check this program out. Get certified and start working with other people and have this kind of lifestyle. I really do believe that we're always being guided, that there's always these little signs showing us what the next right step is for us. And whether you see numbers on a clock, or whether you hear this episode at just the right time, receive that message, receive the guidance that you're getting. Because my biggest fear is not that some troll's going to come and blow up my internet following. My biggest fear isn't that, all the things that we're scared of happening, to be criticized or judged or not know what you're doing, all this kind of stuff. My biggest fear is that I'm going to get to the end of my life and regret that I held back and I didn't go after what I wanted. Because it doesn't just affect me, it affects all the other people that could have been spurred into action as well. So when you're at a crossroads, please use that tool. Like, what's worse, the fear I feel right now of not knowing what I'm doing? Everybody feels that way. Or the regret of deciding to play it safe and never try and go after what you really want, right? Which one's going to be worse? I hope that was helpful. You can check out the link to submit your application at becomeeuphoric.com/certification. It's going to be in the show notes. I would love to talk to you. Love it. We can talk through your career goals, how you can see yourself. I didn't even decide I would do full-time coaching. Like, all I decided was to just put a website up. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. You don't have to be married to being an alcohol-free life coach forever. In fact, the certification is giving you 4 different certifications. So you can choose any which title that you want to use and help people with any problem that you have, right? And we'll go over alcohol as one of the main examples of an issue or challenge that we can help someone through, and you're going to be so solid on that. But you get to really do whatever is aligned with you and your goal. So I'd love to get on a call with you. Be sure to book that sooner than later. The sooner you get into the program, we have some pre-work for you, so you want to get in there as soon as possible. And, not only are you getting your 4 certifications, but we also are going to have a live retreat, a weekend retreat. So we're all going to meet together. It's going to be incredible. And then we have 4 months of business masterminding together. So what does that mean? I'm going to teach you everything I know about having a 6-figure business so that you can really make this a full-time profession if you wish so. You know how to work through the mindset blocks that come up with being a coach and an entrepreneur. You have the marketing strategies, you have the tools, you have the techniques, you have the confidence to get out there. You deserve it, and so does the future life that you're supposed to help. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If it wasn't for you, if you don't want to be a coach, that's totally fine. You're more than welcome here, obviously. I just had to really share out what's on my heart and my passion about, this career change that I've had. I'm so thankful that I took the leap and got into coaching. It's been the best thing ever. Probably marrying my husband, ditching alcohol, and becoming a coach are the 3 best things that's ever happened to me. So I hope that was inspiring for you and is helping you know what you want more.